everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Anderson. I am a freelance artist and teacher hoping to inspire creativity. If you would like more videos like these, please take a second to like and subscribe down below. It really helps in the algorithm of YouTube to help get my videos seen to more people. If you want to receive notifications of when I go live, please make sure to hit the bell and choose all notifications. If you have any questions during or after the class, make sure to pop a comment down below and I will answer it as soon as I can. I'll be leaving timestamps down below so you can skip ahead to the start of class, but I will be sharing announcements as well as supplies, so make sure to stick around for that. If interested in learning more about my classes, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and feel free to check me out on Patreon where I teach exclusive classes to those who support me. In Patreon, I also give traceables for all of my live classes, including this one. Lastly, if you would like to share your work after class with me and others who painted along with us, please head over to Facebook, as I have an artist community where you can share your finished painting with us. I'll leave links for all of that in the description box below. Thanks for joining me, and let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to another live class. Today we are going to be painting this beautiful dahlia, which I found out is actually, this specific flower is actually not a picture of a dahlia. It's very, very, very close to a dahlia. I don't remember, I said I was going to mention it. It's actually like a zinnia or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. Let me see if I can find what it was actually called. Somebody was like, oh, this is a different flower, zinnia, Z-I-N-N-I-A. It's actually a zinnia, but it's very close to a dahlia. So if you want to paint a dahlia, look up a color. I think the middle is the distinctive part that's slightly different. So if you want to paint specifically a dahlia, feel free to look up a picture of that and you can paint the center of that. Otherwise, I'm calling this a dahlia because that's what I've advertised in all the classes. So that is what we are going to be painting. But just in case you wanted the exact name of this specific flower, it's called a zinnia. Yes, exactly. Yes, thank you, Marcia. Okay, so welcome. I see I have people from New York. Hi, Kenzie. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Yes, it's very close to a dahlia. Not quite the same. I couldn't figure out what it was called because it didn't have like the name on like the reference photo, and I was like, I think this is a dahlia, and I looked up a dahlia and it was very close, and I was like, well, this is, I don't even know where I would start if it was something different. So but yeah, it's very, very pretty, and they're very close, which is nice. We are painting dahlias today. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and go over supplies first, and then we will go over I have a couple announcements and what's going on in Patreon right now, and then we will get on to painting. Okay. First, I have my traceable. This is never is the traceable is it required to take the class. You can always draw it yourself. That's actually what we're going to be doing today. If you have the traceable, feel free to use it, especially for those who don't really want to guess at where things are. It's going to be really, really helpful for you to have a traceable. If you're comfortable using without the traceable, that's how I'm going to be teaching it today, then go for it. They're there for those who need it, but they're not required, okay? So I have that already posted in the description of the event, as well as the chat, and I'll be posting it above in a link card when the class is over. So feel free to go grab that if you want. You can put it on your canvas now, and then we'll hopefully we'll be ready to go by the time you're done with that. Right now I just have like a circle, and kind of where I just have like a circle centered. If you have pre-painted your canvas black, it's going to be very important for you to essentially figure out where you want your flower and paint it white, pure white, because painting this on a black canvas, it's not going to have that vibrancy that painting it on a white canvas is. we're actually painting the flower first, and then we're going to come behind and paint black around it. So if you've pre-painted it, you're going to want to go in with your white, just like we are going to normally with our, we're probably going to do it with maybe this size of a filbert brush. You're going to want to go in there and put in all of your petals with white, and then just color in the whole thing white. Okay, so that if you have a black canvas, that is your job to do right now. Figure out where you want it, paint the whole thing white, all within your flower. Obviously not the whole thing, but just your flower, paint it white. Or grab another canvas and you can work with us, and you can save that one for later. Let's see. Yeah, so I have an 11 by 14 canvas. Yeah, I'm sorry, Kenzie. I really try to have all my canvases, like all my canvases, my classes, starting from a white canvases. There's no prep work involved. I really try to do that because a lot of people will come to class and then they feel like they're not prepared, and then they don't take the class later, and I never want to discourage someone from taking a class. So I try to prep all my classes in teaching them from a clean, barely just taken out of the package white canvas, so that anyone can join us. And if not, then I will preface that in like all my posts. Make sure you paint it this color or whatever. So yeah, but a lot of time we'll have time in the class to paint it black if we need to. Okay, so I have an 11 by 14 canvas. It does not have to be this size. I think this would work great with a square canvas or even a round canvas. I think that would look beautiful. As for the traceable, I do have a few different sizes, and if you're a patron, if you become a patron to get the traceable and you want a different size, I currently have an 11 by 14 as well as a 9 by 12. If you want a different size canvas or traceable for your size canvas, just comment on that, let me know, send me a message, and it's really easy to resize. Somebody did that like a few weeks ago with one of my classes, and it's really easy just to size and upload to that post. So if you want something in a different size, just let me know, okay? I have 2 things of water. Second one is just preferred. Paper towel, palette, and then I have a bunch of different brushes that we're going to be using. I actually forgot my main brushes over here. Give me 1 second. Alright, I washed these from yesterday, which we finished our frog painting, which I will show you in a minute. If you're not a part of my Facebook, please make sure to go over there. I post things almost every day of things I'm working on or upcoming classes. So if you're not on my Facebook page, please go over there and follow me. That is where I post most of my content. Okay, so brushes. I'll say what I'm going to use when I use it, but my go-to brushes right now are a large filbert, a medium to small filbert, a medium to small round brush, and then a liner brush. I don't know how much lining we're going to be doing today, but I think I'm also going to be using a kind of like a medium filbert, because I think it's going to be the perfect size for all of these petals, but we will see. Depending on how big your canvas is, you might decide to use a different size brush, because who knows, maybe this large brush would be better for the petals. Okay, so choose what size according to your own canvas. And again, I'll let you know what size brushes I'm using, or what types of brushes I'm using, as I kind of go through it all. Okay. Okay. As of the colors, I'm using all full body acrylics. So don't mind the little bottles. They are full body, not the craft acrylics. I'm going to be using, I have black and white out, I have a brown out, and then I also have, obviously, your pink, and then I have red and yellow. If you want to have an orange out, you can, but you can also just mix it with your your yellow and red, and that can create some orange if you need any of that. Those are the main colors. I don't know, I think I got green out just in case I needed a hue of green in like the yellow area. So if you want to have a green out, feel free to do that. It beats trying to get it later when everything's packed up. Yeah, and that's pretty much all of the supplies. Yeah, there is a little bit of a huey yellow-green. I cannot turn, if I turn up my volume, let me see. I risk like ruining it if I touch it because the little plug that goes into it is like super sensitive. So I don't know if I'm on. Let's see, check, 1 2 1 2 1 2, check, 1 2 1 2, check. I don't know. See, the problem is like I feel like I can't check it unless I'm live, but then I'm live and it's awkward for everyone. So, and I risk like ruining like the connection. So as long as you can hear me, hopefully that's good. I do need to check that. I keep forgetting. Apologies. Okay, so hopefully that's a little bit better. Is that a little bit better? It's going in the yellow now. So, okay. All right. Okay, good. All right. If anybody has any questions about supplies, feel free to comment below. Let me know. We're going to go over a few just quick announcements. If you haven't been on my channel before, welcome. Last week we did a really, really fun sheep with flower crown. And last year we did one of these with a cow. So we did this one last week. Last year we did a cow. If you like this sort of thing, make sure to go paint the cow too. And you can have 2 of them. They're really fun, really cute, and they turned out really, really well. So yeah, if you want to go paint this one, we did that one last week. It's on my channel for free. Feel free to go paint that one. That one was a lot of fun. And we even did some one-stroke roses in there a little bit. We have my Patreon. So in my Patreon, I have 2 different tiers that have tutorials in it. The first tier is the magenta tier. It's a $10 tier, and you also get all the traceables with that as well. This will be the last time I'm sharing this one, but this is what we did this month. So if you haven't been following along, every month I do an exclusive tutorial just for my patrons, and this is in the $10 tier. Super fun. I loved how it came out. It's a super fun style, and I hope to do one of these every other month. We did an elephant a few months ago. This is a lion, and then patrons help me choose what we do next, because I'm trying to do like kind of like an endangered species series, I think is what we're gonna go for. So let me know if you have any suggestions for what we do next. And then yesterday we painted our frog. So in the cobalt tier, it is the $20 tier. We paint every single week until it's finished. Most of them are 3 to 4 weeks. So it kind of stays within a month. At least I try to keep them within the month. And we did a really, really cute frog, and this is how it came out. I'm beyond excited for it. I think it came out really, really well. I love his eyes and his little mouth, his little smile. But yeah, this is how this one came out. So if you are interested in doing any of my Patreon classes, they will stay on my Patreon for forever. So if you join now, you'll not only get access to this class, but also the lower level classes, so all the magenta tier classes, as well as all the live class traceables, as well as all of the classes in previous months. So your $20 not only goes to support me, it also goes towards literally gaining access to every single class I've like ever taught in Patreon, which is a lot. It's a lot of classes. So okay, I will say that if you do want to join, wait until the 1st of the month, because then you will get access to next month's content as well. It is a monthly, on a monthly base, but you can, You can join at any time, but the payment does roll over on the 1st of the month. Okay, are we ready to paint? Yay! Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is we are going to do a pink wash just to get that main color of pink on the canvas, okay? And we're going kind of for a medium mid-tone, and the reason for that is so after we do that medium tone of pink, then we can come in with our highlights and lowlights and start bringing out that depth. If we go in with just the light or just the dark, it's going to, then we have to do like 2 layers more instead of just one lighter and one darker, and it's easier. It's easier for at least my brain to picture it. So what is a wash? A wash is pretty much just your paint and water, and it's just diluted paint. So it goes on really easily, and it goes on really easily, it dries fast, and it creates a really nice mid-tone for it. I'm just going in with my straight pink. Actually, I think I might add a little bit of white to this. So I have I feel like it's a pretty medium pink. It's called Rose from Hippie Crafter. But I'm going to add white to this. And I'm not really adding it to make it opaque. I'm adding it to change the tone of it. Okay, this is a lot better. Kind of changing the white balance in it. Okay, I think that's a lot better. Alright, so I'm gonna grab my water in my brush. I'm just kind of gonna mix a lot of this together. And because it's so light, because it's so thin, you should be able to see any pencil markings that you have. And one thing with washes is that most likely you're going to see your paintbrushes, like your paintbrush strokes through it all, and that's okay. I like to kind of get the paint on the canvas, and then once it's on the canvas, I will move it around with my brush. Maybe go in diagonals. Just making sure that I cover up all the place where I intend to put my flower. Now you could do the whole thing and that's totally fine. I don't really feel like it's necessary to do the entire thing. I just want to make sure to get all the outer edges of this. And then after I get all that paint on there, I want to make sure that I go in very long strokes all the way across the board, all the way across the canvas, kind of just to make it smooth and minimize any markings that there might be. You don't need to get out all of them, but it doesn't hurt to kind of just smooth it out. All right, so while that dries, we're going to take a medium round brush, and while this is still wet, I'm just going to kind of, if you've ever done watercolor, you'll know the technique of like lifting the color. I'm just going to take out and just kind of play with the center and where I know the center's gonna be. This is roughly where it is. All right. Okay, that looks good. Now we get to create two different colors of, well, we're gonna do three different colors of pink. We're gonna have a light tone, a medium tone, and then a dark tone that's a little bit more of like our shadowy tone. Okay, so I have my pink. Obviously this medium tone can be our, or this tone that we just created with the white can be like our medium tone, so I'm just going to make a little bit more of that. I'm going to make a light tone and a dark tone. And our dark tone is going to have just a tiny bit of red and yellow in it. And our light tone is going to be mostly white with a little bit of pink. So I'm going to make a little bit more of this medium tone. The color that we already created, so it's just your pink and a tiny bit of white. I'm going to create our light tone, which is mostly white. And I am going to need a lot more than that. So there's a lot of light tone. And remember that this is going to be like this light color of pink is going to be like the majority of the canvas. It's like at least half the canvas because it's like circle and, you know, it's a good amount of the canvas. So just so that I don't have to recreate it. Whoa, that was a lot of white. And we can always add more white on top of it as like an after, oh, these are really hitting the sun in a specific way. Like we can add more white to certain parts of it, but getting down like the main part. Okay, now I'm gonna add together my dark color, and then I need a little bit more pink. So again, it's mostly pink and has a little dollop, a daisy, a dollop of Dahlia. It has a little bit of red and a tiny bit of yellow, so it's got a little bit of a coral hue to it, and I think this is a little bit too dark, so I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. Alright, so now that we have all of our colors created, wipe off my palette knife. And let's have some fun. I'm gonna grab a, let's see, I feel like that's almost too small. Okay, I'm gonna use this large one. I do have a 11 by 14 canvas, so I'm gonna use this bigger one. And I'm gonna use, so essentially when we're doing this, we want to put this color pretty much only on the tips, and we're just going to go wherever we're gonna go, and we're going to take it and pull down. I know you can't see like much of that. Maybe on the edges we'll add a little bit of white. And then I'm going to take a separate brush, and with the medium tone, I'm going to blend it into the background a little bit. So that when I come around with the new color again, I'm going to overlap it, and you'll be able to see it again. Sorry, what was the first mixture first on the petals? It's the lighter pink. The lighter pink is what we're using. And notice that on the reference photo, not every picture or not every petal is distinguished from the one that's next to it or the one that's behind it, at least here up on the top. So I'm just gonna go around. We will be adding many layers. This is not what it's going to look like, so don't worry about that. Just focus on the outer rim and where all your petals are. I strayed a little bit from my line, so I'm kind of just fixing that part of it. And as you come down, they're going to be a little bit bigger and a little bit further away from each other. So I'm allowing my brush to come out a little bit more. Alright, so once you get like the outer rim of this, you can slightly change the color to maybe like a medium to darker pink, or a lighter pink depending on the previous color. And you'll start overlapping all of these. Right now we're just getting the structure of everything, and we'll be able to correct any like coloring issues as we go. So don't worry too much if it's not, oh, it's not supposed to be that color pink, like that's okay. And you're just going to do that same thing, working a little bit smaller each time. Again, don't worry too much about the specific colors. And just make sure that you can see them up against the last coat, the last layer. Alright, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush because I feel like I can't really get any smaller with this one. Alright. So So here's the fun part where things kind of start to get defined. You're gonna go in and create a shadow with your shadow color. So, and I actually think that this is kind of, it might be a little bit too vibrant. So I'm gonna darken it with some brown, I think would be a good color. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shadow color with a round brush and I'm going to start figuring out where I want all of my shadows. And this is how you're going to define everything. So if you want, you can start by adding just a little bit of dark on all of the in-betweens. And my light is coming directly from like above to the left, I think. So all of the shadows are going to be on the right. And as you start putting this in, I'm really only focusing on the middle parts of this. You can see once you start putting in all of this depth, all of a sudden the petals start kind of popping off the page. Yeah, so the shading, start by putting the shading in all of the, like, let's say here's 2 petals, right? Here's 2 petals. Start by putting the shading on the middle V, like the inside of that part. And then because my shading is coming, my sun is coming from this direction, from the left side, all of the shadows from each petal is going to be on the right side. So we have the middle part of this section, and then deciding which petal is in front and giving that a little bit of shadow on the opposite side that the sun is. And the ones on the right side are gonna have more shadow than the ones on the left side. And you're just gonna do that pretty much all the way around. And you can mix in some pink here and there. Lots of pink today. On the top section, all of the shadows are going to be kind of either like on the left side of the petal on the inside, or on the right side of like the other petal. So for instance, I can put a little bit of shadow on the inside of the left one, like the inside of the left side, the inside left side. And then behind it, it's going to be like on the right side, because these ones are like curling a little bit. But remember that the reference really is just there for reference. You don't have to follow it exactly. So choose which petals you want, to be in front. Choose which petals you want to be curled. All that jazz. And then here, let me show you. And then you can come behind here with a whitish pink highlight. You can kind of blend them together a little bit. This is one of those paintings where it's like, flowers in general usually take a little bit more time and effort to, you know, make look good, because there is so much detail in flowers. So on the bottom here, the section that I've already done, what you can do is you can start getting a like a medium color, and start providing a little bit of depth to it. Now I'm kind of going back and forth because some of this for me is a little bit harder to see in terms of like the depth. I didn't make it super clear, so I'm kind of just hopping around, so I apologize if that is hard to work with, but I want to show you all the different steps so that you can work at your own pace and you can work in the different areas that you need to work on, not necessarily the exact places that I am, because your flower is going to look different than mine, and you might be working on, I just want to give you all the tools so that you can kind of work in any spot that you want. So there's essentially three different stages to every petal. You're going to put the low light in, you're going to put the highlight in, and you're going to re-put in that like medium middle tone. So depending on what color your petal is, you know how I did a lighter version of the color and then I kind of did a darker color so I could see that color, and then I kind of went lighter and then darker and kind of went back and forth. So on these lighter edge ones that I did, I need to pull in back that medium tone as well as the dark tone, whereas as this one, that is the medium tone. So on this one specifically, I need to add back in that lighter tone on the edges. So I can come back here with that lighter tone and pull it up. See that? I can pull up that middle tone, or sorry, that light tone, and come back in with a medium tone if I need to, as well as the dark side. The dark side. This isn't May yet. Tomorrow I will be sharing a sneak peek of next month's tutorials, and if you've been painting with me for any amount of time, you'll probably remember that the past 3 years, maybe only 2. The past 2 or 3 years, on around May the 4th, which shout out to my husband, that's his birthday, I had do like a Star Wars theme painting. The first year I did like a baby Grogu, like a baby Yoda and frog. I thought it was super cute. It was more of like a kids class. It was actually the first one that I offered a traceable on. So a traceable is available for that one. But it was super cute. And then last year, so maybe I think it was only 2. Last year I did I think it was BB-8. And this year we're doing another Baby Yoda, but his name is Grogu, the child, and it's a little bit more of a realistic take on him. So it's going to be a lot of fun, little sneak peek for next month. But definitely, if you're not on my Facebook, go on my Facebook, because that's where I'll be posting all of the content for next month. Since May 4th is actually my husband's birthday, it's going to be on Wednesday. So I think the 4th is on a Thursday, and we're still painting it on Wednesday. So it'll be May the 3rd. But in honor of May the 4th, obviously. Yeah, I don't actually paint on my husband's birthday. I am busy that day. Ooh, April 30th. It's almost your birthday. Happy early birthday. It is not my birthday, but I have things planned. Alright, so now I'm going to go in and just focus on putting some of these, just differentiating some of these petals over here. Alright, so I'm just adding these shadows. you can already see how, because I've worked a little bit more on this section, you can definitely see where the petals are and who's in front, whereas up here there's a lot less detail. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that now. It's the same process throughout the whole thing. You add your dark, you add your light or your medium tone, and you kind of just work your way through it. If you're stuck on any part and where you're not really sure where to put the shadow, when in doubt, just put a shadow right next to two of it on the one on the right. So you're going to put a little line down it, almost like outlining this one. And you're going to put a couple little humps and just do what is above it. So see how there's two petals here? There's one petal, two petal. I'm just going to do two little sections right here, and that's what it's shadowing. And there you go. You have a little shadow for that guy. You can do the same thing. You can do the same thing right next to it. I'll show you what it looks like all the way down. Here we have kind of two. So we have 1, 2. I have grabby brushes. Most of them are grabby brushes that I'm using, and I'm going back and forth between a 14 grabby brush, which is about the size of my finger, because let's be honest, do sizes actually even like count in brushes? Because every brand is different. And then I have a medium to smallish round brush that I've been using. So I've been kind of going back and forth between those two brushes. You are welcome. Thank you. I was trying out the brown and I think I need to mix it with another color. Not quite ready for straight brown. I think I'm actually going to mix it with some black instead of brown, because brown is keeping that color and I want to dilute the color, not put brown on it. So I think I'm going to put this color back in, wait for it to dry, and then go back in. Because I feel like there's one more layer of darkness, of like shadow in here that I'm missing. But I think I'm gonna not get too ahead of myself. Finish all the rest of it. Alright, if at any point you're struggling with like where things are, particularly on the top, a lot of them have kind of white outlines of like the tip of the of each petal. So if you wanted to go in and put in the tip of each petal like this, not only will that help you kind of define where everything is, but it's also fairly realistic, as that's kind of what the paint, like the flower is already doing. And you can always soften it later. And if you want to make it not so much like a line, you can do a line on the outside and then just kind of brush it in a little bit. You can brush it in so that it's not as liney, I guess. That's just a little bit more blended. Even if it's a dry brush, it'll still have an effect on it. And even then, just doing that gives it so much more dimension. And by the way, what you're looking at your painting is probably what I would call the ugly stage. Not specifically your painting, I can't see your painting, but what I'm looking at, this is the ugly stage. So please push past this stage. It's super important, because if you put this down, you're not gonna come back to it. Or you might, like in years, when you end up painting over it and doing something else. So don't get discouraged during this stage. There's a lot going on and there's a lot still to be done. We're only an hour into this painting and we still have an hour left. So give yourself a little bit of grace. I would highly recommend that if you are having troubles with figuring out where all your petals are, go over the tips with your white and brush a little bit in, and that'll start giving you a little bit more dimension and a little bit more direction on where to go next. You can also do this with your light pink. It doesn't have to be white. Okay, let me give you a little secret. You think that this looks good. I'm just like, man, this looks awful and I hate it. But I know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I know that if I just keep working on it, adding more layers, more definition, more contrast, it's going to come together. I just have faith. I've done so many paintings where in the middle of it, I'm just like, this looks awful. I feel like every artist goes through that. And if not, then you're just magical. But like, there's gonna be this stage where you're just like, this looks awful and I don't like where this is heading. You gotta just push through that and keep going. What's nice about being in a class is that like, I'm teaching you, I can't give up. But like, I know that and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I know that when I keep moving at it, keep moving through it, and keep adding those different colors and different dimensions, it's gonna come together. And yeah, I know it looks way more like a flower compared to mine. With something like this, it really helps to know where your shadows and lights are, especially with flowers that just have so many petals. So really try to just focus on each individual petal at a time. And if you need to change which petal is in front of it, like each other, you can do that. Like, you can change it out. Like, don't feel like you need to keep it how it was when you started. Like, if you're like, oh, this isn't working, I need another petal here or something like that, add another petal. Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely focus, when you're looking at the whole thing, it can get really overwhelming. Just focus on a few sections at a time. That's why I focused on like just the bottom section, and then I like moved on to something else. It can be really hard to only focus on, if you're focusing on all of it at the same time. That's why I kind of like jumped around a bit, because sometimes it's hard when you're like doing the same thing over and over and over again. It can get hard and daunting when you're like, oh, I have so much of this left to do, versus I did this section, I moved on to somewhere up here, and now I'm up here, and I'm kind of just doing everything as I see, as I kind of like feel like it. And some of that is so that I don't get bored, but it's also, some of it is so that I can like wrap my mind around things. Because if I'm painting something and I don't really see it, I don't see what I'm painting, it can be really hard. So for instance, when I was painting down here, I was painting just the darks, and when I first started, I was like, I have no idea where I'm going, because there wasn't definition. There wasn't like, my mind wasn't seeing it. But once you start putting together like part, like all the darkness of it, you start to kind of see it where it is. So do what you feel like would be helpful for you to see it. So for instance, up top, I was like, I'm putting in this darkness and it's not really helping. Let's go to the light. Let's put in the light. And now that I've put in that light, I can see where things are, and now I feel more comfortable going in with the dark, because I can see where all those petals are. So try to figure out whether it's dark or light or medium tone. Figure out what that is in order so that you can kind of see what you're working with. I hope that's helpful. If you're having trouble with your lights and your darks, try to go lighter and try to go darker. One thing that I've noticed in the past with me is that I have a hard time really pulling in that contrast. So like this isn't even as dark as it should be. There's gonna be another layer of darkness that I'm gonna put into all of these little creases that's gonna pull out that darkness. So if you're not quite seeing it, try to make that contrast a little bit more. Peggy, it looks just like our zinnias. Actually, it is a zinnia. I thought it was a dahlia, and at the beginning of this class, I was like, it's not a dahlia, it's a zinnia. The original reference photo that I had didn't tell me what flower type it was, and I was just like, I think it's a dahlia, and I looked up dahlia, and it was the closest thing I could find. So it is a zinnia. I think that's how you spell it, or how you say it. And if not, let me know. But yeah. Calling it a dahlia, I think it's actually a zinnia. You're welcome. Okay, I feel like over here needs a little bit of love. So I'm gonna do the same thing I did. I'm also like a huge fan of using your finger. Like if you need to use your finger to like blend something, go for it. Like, alright, I'm getting sidetracked down below. I need to finish out these sections. And if you give something a large line like this, it'll make it look like the flower's kind of like like folded in on itself. Because the other side of these petals are like a little bit more of like a white. And I don't think there's a petal here, but I'm gonna put one here by just adding a little white line there. Really good artist, lucky funny. Thank you. I shared with my Facebook page. But sadly my art groups are too strict to, yeah, I've been a part of some of the groups, and it's interesting. There was one group on Facebook I was a part of, and they were like, they would share Michelle the painter, they would share Angela Anderson, some people would share my stuff, and after a while it was weird because it changed admins, and then all of a sudden all sharing of links period was banned. And I didn't know that, and I posted one of my things and my page got banned from it, and it's really sad. So I joined it with my personal page so that I could at least still see everybody's like stuff, but it was so sad because my art page or whatever just got banned, and I was just like, I love seeing everybody's paintings though. Like if I would have just been contacted and been like, hey, changed admin, like you can't post that anymore, I would have been like, okay, sure, I won't post it anymore. But it just flat out just randomly got banned, and I was so sad. So thankfully I still get to see stuff with my personal profile, but I have to follow some other groups to, because it's not like I try to steal anything or anything. I love seeing all the art in my feed. It's so fun, and being able to see everybody's different journeys that they're on. That's one of the reasons why I encourage you guys to post in my Facebook group as well, that I have all my classes. I'm just like, please post in there, because I love seeing your guys' work and being able to see you know, how far you guys have come and all of that, and it's really fun to see. But yeah, a lot of the groups, I mean, to be honest, like that's kind of how mine is. I mean, mine's specifically geared toward my classes. If I had a group, like a Facebook group that was like kind of open to anything, I think I would be a lot less strict on like other people posting other tutorials and stuff like that. But I don't know. Post your pics to Samantha page, make it happy. Yes, do it. Not my page, my Facebook group. It's just a free Facebook group. You can post all your paintings. It's inspirational when people post their paintings of like my classes. It's just fun to see. Because when you're doing, so I used to do paint classes like in person, and when you're doing it in person, you always get that super rewarding picture at the end where you get to see everybody's painting at the end, and it's always so fun just to see everybody's paintings. They're all so different, but yet it was the same painting that we're painting from, and it's just super rewarding. But when you're painting online, you don't really get that. So Yeah. Alright, there's a little bit more shadowing that I'm going to do over on this right side, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the middle section, and then pretty much you can just keep working on it until you're done. There's not any true end to this class. You can keep working on it for forever. Let's be real. 'Cause something like this could take a super long time, even for me. I'm kind of going at a quick pace so I can be done in 2 hours, but if I was painting this on my own, I probably wouldn't be going this fast. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do for the middle, don't worry, we'll go back to all the other parts of this, but I do want to get to the center. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint it white. We want to have like a nice white coat, especially because a lot of this is going to be this like kind of greenish yellow. And you're going to start by just grabbing a brush. I'm using my filbert kind of sideways. And I'm just putting this in here white. And I'm just going to let that dry while I put in a couple more petals down here, a couple more small ones. And how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to paint essentially around where I want them to be. And I'll kind of fill in the tips of them. And I'm going to fill them in with like the color that should be there. But this is so that I can get those small ones in there. Now, just like before, I kind of filled it in with my lighter color, and I'm just coming in and adding the shadows here and there. kind of redo this one. It's bugging me. All right, we have a good amount of detail. I think this is dry. It should be dry now. So let's go ahead and make our kind of greenish yellow color. I have some yellow. I have just the tiny bit of green. Definitely learning from Samantha. She's really good, like Angela Anderson. Oh, I appreciate that. It's funny because people get Angela and myself mixed up in terms of like our names because we have the same last name, and then people keep ask if we're related, and we're like, nope, because I think the art Sherpa also has her mom also paints, and sometimes they paint together too. I'm like, nope, I'm not related. just happens that we're both painters, and yeah, but I love her stuff too. Let's see. Okay, colors. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse off my palette knife. Forgot to do that. Okay, I'm gonna grab a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow, and a just ever so slight little bit of green. It'll almost make like a super lime green. Yes, I only have time for 2 at the moment. Yeah. For mid-level patrons, Michelle holds a Zoom class once a month. Yes, I used to do a Zoom class, but I would do it. I would try to. I only had like 3 or 4 people in that tier at the time, and I was trying to like figure out the best time for everybody, and it was just like really, it was really difficult to figure out. So I'm glad that she found a way to make it work. I think she probably just says, hey, we're going live, and people can show up if they want, if not. But yeah, it's kind of fun that like all the artists kind of do something a little bit different, and you can kind of pick and choose. Okay, let's see. So we have our kind of our lime green, and then I'm gonna get out a little bit more yellow, and then a lot of this is actually like a creamy white. So I'm going to get some more white, get a little bit of yellow, and just the tiniest bit of brown. I think I have a little bit too much yellow. It's not quite white. Like, rarely is anything in painting actually white. It's usually white with some other color in it. Isn't that the truth? Okay, so we have a little bit of a off-white. Yeah, I definitely think this style of painting, this specific painting, is going to be, the more effort you put into it, the better it's going to look. It's one of those. Alright, so I'm going to use this kind of like off-white to fill in most of this painting, or most of like the inner section. And this off-white, I have mostly white, a little bit of yellow, and a tiny bit of brown. And I'm just going to fill in the parts that I put white in. I'm laughing because I went to go put my brush in the water and I was looking at the screen, so I completely like missed and went behind it, and I just painted my desk. You gotta laugh, okay? You just gotta laugh sometimes. That's what happens when you're distracted. Okay, I'm gonna get my kind of lime green color and put it here in the middle. Ooh, look how pretty that is. It's really bright. I like it. And then I'm gonna get this dark color that we've been using for the darkest part of our petals. There we go. Words. And I'm just gonna put that right here, as well as just a little bit of brown on the edges. And to string some of this together, I'm going to pull in some of these white streaks from the petals and kind of start connecting the two. So now I'm going to make a slightly darker version of my off-white. I'm just going to add some brown in it. And you're going to grab a small brush. You probably could do this one with a liner, but depending on how much detail you want to put in, you're going to put a little white dot or a little dark dot on each of the like the center parts. Here's a little bit of a closer view of it. And then you're just going to do the same thing with the little tiny ones. And you can get however detailed you want. This is your painting, so if you really want to get super detailed, go for it. I don't think the middle necessarily needs to be super detailed, because when looking at the whole thing, it's gonna get lost in your imagination. But have fun with it. And then I'm going to do kind of like some yellow frills and stuff, but that's going to be after I kind of finish everything around it. So I'm not quite going to do that just yet. I am going to add some orange stuff at the bottom here, and I'm doing that just by adding some yellow to the red that I've been using. And just kind of in random spurts, just adding some orange here and there in little lines. Alright, that's pretty much it for that. Now before I go on any further and finish up any details, I'm going to paint the rest of this black. So I'm going to take about 5 minutes to paint all of this black. And I'm going to, let's see, where do I want my, I'm just going to roll this off. This is like one of my favorite things about having a flat glass canvas, is that when I need more space, I can just clean it off super easy, super quick, and then just paint, keep painting. I don't have to like go clean it off, and yeah. And I think that after putting this black background, you really will see how far you've come, because the pink on the pink, it's really hard to kind of see where everything is. And I think once we start painting in that black, it's going to make the pink flower pop. So I'm just going to paint all my edges real fast, and then I will put it back on the table. I think also by putting the black on here, we'll really see how much more we need to go with our contrasts. Yes, for a panel, I think I enjoy painting that. I think I need to reassess like my whole setup and kind of figure out if I want to be painting with a different setup, because right now I'm painting like pretty much in front of me but off to the side a little bit, and I would just have to figure out if another way would work better. Yeah, so I go over this in the beginning because Kenzie actually had a black canvas. If you have a black canvas, I would suggest painting everything white first. Not everything, where your petals are, so that the pink can go on a white part and not a black part, because it'll be more vibrant that way. Yeah, I think if you have time, it would probably it would take less time to start with a black canvas, I think, than to have to go around all your petals. But for the sake of my classes, I really do like to have, I like to paint with a white canvas because not everybody can prep their canvas beforehand. Not everybody knows to prep their canvas beforehand, and then they won't paint with me. And I don't want to create any obstacles of, people not painting with me. So Look how much that's popping. My goodness. It looks good already. This is also where you can kind of shape the outer edge of your petals. So let's say you wanted them, you didn't want them round, but you wanted them kind of, you know how the bottom ones aren't necessarily perfectly round, they kind of have some grooving going on. This is the part where you can kind of add that. And allow them to not be perfectly round, as petals are not perfectly round. At least not these. So again, I'm going back and forth between a round brush to get in all the little tiny places. And then continuing that on with a larger brush. I'm going to turn this upside down so that I can better paint this. Yes, it definitely looks a lot better now with the black. That's part of the whole, like, trust the process thing. All right. And that is pretty much it. So now if you wanted to go in and darken those shadows and make them a little bit more pronounced, you definitely could. You could also go over the lighter parts and add a little bit of white, like a white pink, and I'll show you what that looks like right here. So just going over like the tips of it, wherever the light is really touching, and just using that curved brush of your and just adding that wherever the light should be touching it, essentially, wherever the light touches. Man, so many like movie references this time around. A little bit here and there, and all of a sudden it really does just brighten it up. It really does make it pop. All right. A few more touches. And I don't know if I'm gonna add the extra dark part of it. All right. If you are gonna do a darker color, I would just add, I would add a little bit of black to the red color that you were using and kind of just dull it down a little bit to darken it. And you can even go in with a little bit more of like a wash, like a dark wash, and darken it that way. And that makes it actually really easy to blend out with your finger if it's a wash. And you'll see already that that is really creating a really nice contrast. I'm just gonna spend a few more minutes just adding this, and then we'll be all done. It's mostly gonna go on like the right side, because that's where a lot of those darks already are. And I'm mostly adding it only in those little creases where the darkest point of that shadow would be. And I definitely think it's worth it. It's made a big difference. Yeah, if you need to print the reference, definitely do that. And another huge tip that I've learned over the years, that if you're having trouble seeing things, or you feel like you're missing certain elements, take a step back from your painting so you can see it from like new eyes, and that will really, really help. I pretty much get like a, I don't know, I would say a 6 foot. Like, I get to see my painting at all times from like about 6 feet, because I see what you're seeing, and then it's also a few feet from my computer. So I'm way back here that I can see on my computer. So I'm constantly seeing it from like a different perspective, I would say, which is actually super helpful, because I don't have to like get up from my chair in order to see it from like further away. All right. So this is pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and give a little bit more of a highlight on these ones just to tie it in a little bit more. And I think that's probably all I'm gonna do. All right, well that is pretty much the end of our class. Oh, was one more thing that we were gonna do. We're gonna grab some yellow and just put a couple of these little bits of paint around the edges of this. I think it's like pollen of some sort. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining me. I always love when people get to paint along. And I'm gonna go ahead and post the community link right now. And that is, again, that's just a free group that you can go and post your work. I'm gonna be posting mine shortly after this class. You can add it to the album. And then, yeah, have everybody gets to see yours as well as mine. And then we will, we'll see you for the next class next week. Same time, same place. If you are not on my Facebook, please go on my Facebook. Follow me there. That is where I literally post all the things, and I will be posting next month's schedule tomorrow. So please make sure to go over there and follow me. I'm going to post that link as well. So that's my Facebook page. And here on YouTube, if you like this content, if you've been following me for a while, or maybe you're just here, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps get the YouTube algorithms saying that, oh, people like this, and it kind of spits it out to more people like you who enjoy painting. So that's really helpful. My goal this year is to get to 10,000. I don't know if we're gonna make it, but I hope we do. It's kind of just like an internal goal. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure to do so. And yeah, we will see you next week for our, I believe it's our Yoda one, actually, or Baby Yoda Grogu, the child, whatever you want to call it. Yep, next week is the 3rd. So yeah, all right, we will see you next week. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll meet with you soon. Bye, guys.